One of the places you worked before coming to Rebel News was actually worked for Robert F. Kennedy Jr., am I right? Tell us a little bit about that.
Yeah, it's his organization is called Children's Health Defense, and it's similar to Rebel News in a number of ways. They do journalism and they do research, but at the same time, they sue and launch lawsuits against the federal health bureaucracy in the United States of America. So, they sued the CDC, they sued the FDA. And, there's really not many organizations doing that other than Children's Health Defense and Rebel News.
Well, we have started, we do a lot of litigation, civil liberties-oriented litigation in Canada. We're also defending our own rights. Our freedom of speech is under threat in Canada. But we have started to help in the U.S., and you've been working on two projects. And maybe just give us a little bit of an update on those. One is an Amish farmer. I don't think we have Amish in Canada, but we have other traditional farmers like the Hutterites in my neck of the woods of Alberta, and there's Old Order Mennonites, and they're similar. They're shy of technology and even cameras. Some Old Order Mennonites will not appear on camera with us. They're very religious. They homeschool or church school their kids. And they were really picked on during the pandemic, by the way, the Old Order Mennonites, because they chose to maintain their gatherings. They're religious, and they didn't buy the hype from the pandemic salesman. So they were picked on. You have helped a farmer in, I think it's Pennsylvania, right? Who's Amish. Now, it wasn't a vaccine issue or a pandemic issue. He just wanted to have sort of traditional old style farming methods without FDA oversight or injections or whatever. He wanted to serve raw milk, for example. And that's not to everyone's taste, but the government came down on him like a ton of bricks. Tell us a little bit about Amos Miller, if I got his name right.
Of course, yeah, Amos Miller. Amos Miller runs Amos Miller's Organic Farm in Birmingham, Pennsylvania. It's a very tight-knit, remote Amish community in central Pennsylvania, and he's been processing his own beef organically on his pastures, and because he's not adhering to the federal regulatory requirements, armed marshal service, the federal marshals, raided his farm. And they told him he must start going through the USDA suppliers and the government middlemen instead of doing everything himself. And they actually they counted all of his beef that was there to make sure that he didn't sell anymore. Just recently, there was something that happened in the case. Robert Barnes, who's one of the most famous constitutional lawyers in America, because of Rebel News reporting on this story, took up Amos Miller's case, and they're bringing this to the court. And Robert Barnes says this might even go to the Supreme Court of the United States for food sovereignty, for bodily sovereignty. It's our right to consume how we wish to consume.
It's incredible to me. We live in an age where euthanasia isn't just lawful, it's being promoted, especially here in Canada. Drugs are decriminalized or legalized everywhere, again in Canada especially. You can do anything to yourself. You can engage in mutilation in the name of being non-binary. But God forbid you want to drink some unpasteurized milk or have beef killed by an Amish farmer who doesn't follow FDA rules. And one thing I learned about Amos Miller is that he doesn't have a retail shop that's just open to the general public. There are people who sort of join his farm club. Like they say, I like this, I trust this, I want to be part of the team. And I think that was a legal structure designed to get around that you're selling to the public. But there's something to it. If someone says, okay, I understand what we're doing here. I'm literally signing up to be part of this organic Amish farm. Even if raw milk was bad for you, even if the way he slaughtered his meat was bad for you, which I don't think it is. I mean, I myself prefer pasteurized milk. I just out of tradition or habit or whatever. But even if this wasn't healthy for you, for God's sakes, there's nothing you can't inject in your arms or cut off your body with the approval of the wokerati. But a man can't sell raw milk or armed marshals will come to his farm. It's crazy.
I mean, the government has their hand in the selling of cigarettes, in the lottery business, and that isn't too dangerous or too unhealthy for them. But milk is where they draw the line. It is an interesting thing that's going on in Pennsylvania.
We got a petition at leavethemalone.com, and more than 40,000 people signed it last I checked. I'm pretty excited about that. There's another project you did that was somewhat controversial. There was a young girl who was hospitalized in a pretty famous children's hospital, and At this children's hospital, though, one of the things they do is they use new or experimental drugs. And the parents who took this girl to the hospital objected to some of these experiments after one of them had a really bad reaction with the girl. And the doctors sort of noted that the parents were skeptical of vaccines. The doctors noted that this girl was homeschooled. Both of these are irrelevant in the girl's treatment, but they're very political, aren't they? And they literally moved to, in the report, you called it sort of medical kidnapping, in that it was done lawfully. It was basically using the power of the state to take over the custody of the child in a legal sense. And here's a quick clip of that show you did, just to remind people about the case of Evelyn in the Children's Hospital. Take a look.
I'm Jeremy Loffredo for Rebel News at the Children's Mercy Hospital in Kansas City, Missouri. Effectively, the hospital has medically kidnapped a 10-year-old girl because her parents made clear that they were not satisfied with the care she was being given, and they wanted a second medical opinion. This is the use and abuse of Evelyn Young. Last month, Jessica Young's 10-year-old daughter, Evelyn, had swollen legs and a swollen stomach. After temporarily treating her daughter's swelling at home, the swelling returned, this time with a rash and sweating. The Children's Mercy Hospital in Kansas City is a controversial research institution that has effectively kidnapped dozens of kids after considering their parents who question the hospital's treatment decisions or ask for a second medical opinion as unfit to parent. Their latest victim is Jessica Young's 10-year-old daughter, Evelyn, who was effectively given to the state of Missouri after Jess made clear she wasn't satisfied with the hospital's protocols.
You know, the idea that you would take your child to the hospital to be taken care of, and they would seize your child because you disagreed with their medical approach. I think that's got to be the most terrifying thing in the world. By the way, that's a tactic that Justin Trudeau did on the truckers, saying if they didn't leave, they would seize any children or pets in those trucks. No legal basis for saying it, just designed to terrify people. What's the latest on Evelyn? Do you know what's up with that case?
Yeah, of course. And it is a case of where they homeschooled their children. They didn't vaccinate their children. It had nothing to do with the medical situation that Evelyn was currently going through. They just disagreed with the lifestyle. They disagreed with the lifestyle and the politics of the parents. And they weaponized the children, and they weaponized those politics, and they tried to take the kid from the family. And they succeeded. They took Evelyn from the family, and she was in state custody for, over 3 weeks. And, we had SaveEvelyn.com. There was people calling the hospital. There was people making a ruckus. And thankfully now, a month and a half later, Evelyn is back in the custody of her parents.
What you just saw was an excerpt from my nightly show, the Ezra Levant Show. Every weekday, I do a monologue. Usually it's about half an hour. Then I interview an interesting guest, and then we read my hate mail or my fan mail, whichever is more fun. It's only available behind a paywall, though. That's how we pay our bills here at Rebel News. We don't take a dime from Justin Trudeau. But the good news is it's only $8 a month, about half the price of Netflix. And in addition to my nightly show, you also get weekly shows from 4 other friends here at Rebel News. So you're getting 36 shows a month just for $8. I think it's worth it. And even if you're not quite sure, do it anyways, because we rely on viewers like you to keep us free and independent. I promise you I'll never take a dime from Trudeau. Just go to rebelnewsplus.com and click subscribe. Thanks.